Good morning and welcome once again. And finally, everybody's got smiles on their faces except Mike, but he's always grumpy. Thank goodness.
Mike is good.
He does, doesn't he?
Oh
Finally,
my God.
a smile on his
A
face.
slice of cake and more. Oh Lord.
It's okay, you
You want
too.
to check out how good I
No,
look?
don't worry. So let's go.
Bring out them guns.
Mike,
Focus.
You people, it's the breakfast show. People are going to another place, I don't know. But in any case, we're all happy because, and I bet most of Nigeria is happy because of the CBN's, what do you call it, edict now? Saying that you can now spend and receive the old Naira notes. In fact, banks have been mandated to disperse them and also collect them. And finally, people can go about having, doing commerce without fear of, shit, they'll collect them, won't they collect it, or I don't have cash and transfers and everything. So the problems are myriad. One problem I noted, we have a gate man at the start of the estate who we always buy stuff from. Pay him with your 100 Naira, 200 Naira. But I noticed that yesterday he wasn't there. He wasn't selling. Not that he wasn't there. He wasn't selling. Why? He's like, everybody's buying everything on credit. And no transfers are going. So he's had to close shop because he has no money. He can't go to the bank. I think he's underbanked and doesn't even have an account. He doesn't have a bank account. So you can imagine the effect on such a small business. And there are other little businesses that I've noted are not in places where they used to be. So imagine, has this in any way been effective? Did it do anything? What was the impact at all?
Some don't have the faith to go to. And
People sleep at work.
So that's where the problem starts. That's one. Two, all I can say is Afenlokwa. To what end? I say this because this should have been a fantastic
Policy, yeah.
It would have been awesome. And I keep saying it, that saboteurs of certain policies in Nigeria are the ones that frustrate things. This could have been smoother. It could have been, I don't know, like, it's painful. Personally, for me, it's painful that we've had to go back to the old Naira notes. It's necessary because many of us don't have cash. Me, I don't have cash. Both ways. But the reality is, it's painful that it had to come down to this.
So now, this brings the question. What was the essence of the redesign in the first place?
That's why I said, Afendokwa, to what end?
Because before you come up with policies, right, you should have the capacity to be able to, withhold or sustain these policies over time. You have over 200 million Nigerians. Before these policies were brought into book, before the redesign, did they have the capacity? Does the CBN have, or do they have the capacity to sustain or to cater to over 200 million Nigerians? Hence the policies. Yes, they talk about wanting to reduce inflation, which was one of the reasons for the redesign, right?
Seems to be the major reason.
Which seems to be the major reason. But are there other factors that are aiding inflation? Has they been taken care of? Now that we are back to status quo, what happens to the inflation? Is it happening? Is it not happening? Of course. I mean, all of these things should have just been checked and balanced before the redesign in the first place. Because
CBN, but my opinion is they were checked and balanced. I started with the fact that there are certain saboteurs. The reality is there was a time they found a huge amount of money in certain banks. We are aware that there are people hoarding the cash for whatever reason they have. You go to the, as at 2 weeks ago, even if you had to get money from the POS, yes, they were putting certain charges, but you could get. As at last week, you couldn't get. Where did all the cash go from? Circulation. Some people were hoarding it. That's why I said that some policies are made and saboteurs will sit down, fold their arms and decide that they are going to frustrate it.
Mike,
So yesterday I was listening to Tolu and he gave a lot of
that's Tolu
knowledgeable
business
insight. Yes, Tolu Ogunjobi.
Okay.
What about 2 trillion was taken off, and then we have about 700 to 800 billion printed. So whether somebody holds or not, that is already a major issue.
See?
Do you understand? And then a major reason was, say they want to curb vote buying. But people were buying votes, or we heard there were reports of people buying votes in dollars. We saw dollars being seized in Port Harcourt.
Yeah, true.
Even
In
electronic
Cephas,
money transfer.
People seized, bless you, people see people were reports of people buying votes in Cephas. You understand? And other denominations. Now, the point is that when it's not going to, people that have redesigned India, UK, they do it always. They're going to redesign now with the new king now.
Yes.
Yeah. It so happens that old and new notes run simultaneously until the old notes are out of circulation anywhere in the world. And this is a process that takes not shorter than 1 year. Now, to print, even if you want to print that amount of money, now the mint says that it will take at least 11 months to even print the amount that was in circulation back. So think about it. So even from the end of the policy, it was set up to fail.
To fail.
Yeah.
So, you know, the thing has always been
understand?
that in Nigeria, when new currencies come in, it's phased out gradually. This is actually the first time this will be taking place. It's always been a case of, okay, we want to change 50
First time this is
Naira,
taking place
we don't want
the
that paper
duration.
anymore. Yeah, let's bring the other.
In such a short duration.
Yes, but this is the first time that there's going to be like a limited period for everything to happen. However, the purpose was to cut down cash in circulation. And I maintain that it could have been a success, but for certain factors.
Well, when you look at it the way Mike has said it, if it was used as an apparatus to curb politics or political corruption, it was set up to fail. That's not
You don't give a time frame for that.
Yeah.
It never happens anywhere in the world. Why are we here? And then the one that annoys me the most is how our Supreme Court has gotten to the point whereby they talk and who are you?
Orders are being flouted.
And then people talk about in Nigeria we have only 1.5 arm of government, and this shows it very clear. How can the Supreme Court make a declaration and whoever, the CBN governor or the president or whatever, it's just like somebody.
No, the
somebody
presidency
just
has
spoke.
come out to say we never.
I'm not talking about the president. I'm talking about the Supreme Court making a declaration. I'm making a Supreme Court Supreme Court making a declaration, and it is just somebody talking.
Okay, at this point, we just have to keep observing. And please, when you get the old Naira notes,
so anybody out there who comes, who encounters me today, because it's going to be an encounter. If I give you my old 500 Naira, I'm going to also be reading
they
the
did not collect it
Act.
from me last
But
week.
you know this very sad thing. Just to round up, a bank will give you the old
And
notes.
they do not collect it
You
back.
go to buy, they reject you, come back to the bank that same day, and
won't
they say they're
collect
not
it.
collecting it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's been a crazy
And
experience.
well, I think we're going to perhaps have an extension of this on our conversation after, because there are certain other impacts that this has on people, and well, we'll talk about businesses.
business.
We'll talk about it after. Thank you. Do stay tuned. It's Wake Up Nigeria.